All right, let's just get straight into it. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are completely dissecting one of the absolute most critical, make or break foundational topics in the entire Cambridge accounting syllabus: types of business entity. We are talking about sole traders, partnerships, and limited companies. Now listen, if you're sitting there thinking this is just about memorizing some basic textbook definitions, you are essentially leaving major marks on the table. In this session, we're acting as your master coach. We are going completely beyond the textbook to deconstruct complex, high-tariff questions, master your time allocation, deploy high-level critical thinking strategies, and analyze exactly where top students go completely wrong under real exam conditions. I want you to grab your notebooks, get rid of any distractions, and really get focused right now, because we are about to decode the examiner's mind. And trust me, they are looking for something very specific that most candidates totally miss. I want you just to let that number sink in for a second. 15%. This single topic, your ability to seamlessly differentiate and apply the core accounting principles for sole traders, partnerships, and limited companies, accounts for approximately 15% of your total marks in Paper 2 of Accounting 9706. Think about what that actually means in the real world. That 15%, that is literally the difference between an average, middle-of-the-pack grade and an absolute top-tier performance. It's the difference between a B and an A star. Mastering this module doesn't just look good, it gives you an incredible mathematical advantage before you even walk through the doors of the exam hall. You are stepping in, already dominating a massive chunk of the paper. And this quote right here, this brilliantly illustrates exactly what Cambridge examiners are desperately looking for when they grade your papers. This isn't just advice, this is pulled directly from the principal examiner reports. They stated, candidates referencing cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. So what does that actually mean for you? It means that theoretical architecture of these business entities does not exist in a vacuum. Examiners are absolutely not looking for you to just regurgitate isolated facts. They are actively hunting for candidates who can show exactly how a partnership structure integrally impacts its capital accounts, or how a limited company's legal status completely dictates its financial reporting constraints. We need to build a massive web of knowledge today, connecting this core theory to literally every other syllabus area. If you can make those connections, you win the game. So, here is our rigorous roadmap for today's session. We are going to start with Section 1, Core Principles and Terminology. Then, we're going to dive deep into Section 2, the Method Mark Strategy. After that, we'll tackle Section 3, Critical Analysis and Evaluation, which is where the real magic happens. And finally, we will wrap up with Section 4, Examiner Warnings. Let's transition right into our first section, Core Principles and Terminology. Because look, before we can even attempt to analyze complex financial data or debate business strategy, we have to absolutely lock down the rigid terminology and the theoretical architecture. This is the bedrock foundation upon which every single calculation, every single evaluation is built. Now, what's really fascinating here is the contrast in how students approach this. I want you to imagine two hypothetical scholars taking this exact exam. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Now, Alex is highly technical, okay? Alex is a machine, fantastic at memorizing formulas, knows every single fact. But Alex treats sole traders, partnerships, and limited companies as just bulleted lists of static facts. On the other hand, we have Sam. Sam is a highly creative thinker, incredibly strong at building arguments and seeing the big picture, but Sam really struggles with structural precision and timing. So put them in the exam. If Alex just rigidly lists out the features of a limited company without contrasting it conceptually against a partnership, for instance, totally missing how limited liability fundamentally alters investor risk and decision-making, Alex is going to be capped at a mid-tier grade despite knowing all the facts. It's just too flat. On the other side, Sam might totally grasp that concept of risk. They see the big picture, but they use vague, colloquial terms instead of precise structural reasoning. Both of them lose marks, just in different ways. The assessment framework heavily prioritizes analytical depth over superficial breadth. You absolutely must explicitly contrast these entities using established principles and evidence-based reasoning. The examiner doesn't just want to know what these entities are. They want you to prove why their specific structures matter financially. You need Alex's precision and Sam's big picture argument combined into one. Which brings us to a massive, glaring red flag. When we comb through the principal examiner reports, they reveal a truly painful truth. Candidates consistently, year after year, confuse foundational terminology. Under the immense pressure of the ticking clock, they start talking about shareholders when they actually mean partners, or they write dividends when they are doing a calculation for drawings. It sounds so basic sitting here right now, right? But I promise you, under exam conditions, with a high-tariff question staring you down, these mental slips happen all the time. So what is the elite strategy to prevent this? It's simple. Always,
Always explicitly define your key terms in your opening sentence before you start using them in your extended responses. Lock in that definition immediately. It anchors your entire argument, it calms your brain down, and it signals to the examiner from word one that you possess precise, professional, unshakable knowledge. Shifting gears now, let's step into section 2, the method mark strategy. Because honestly, knowing the pure theory is really only half the battle. Now we need the actual technical methodology to execute on the paper and secure those absolutely crucial marks that the examiner awards simply for your process. So the absolute heart of this is a standard systematic processing sequence. When you sit down and face a complex, high-tariff question, let's say it's a massive 15-mark data analysis on a partnership, you do not just pick up your pen and start blindly writing. You need to run this specific 5-step sequence every single time. First, you identify the key elements by using a 3-step question scan to extract the exact relevant data from the stimulus materials. Second, you mentally apply the relevant principles by selecting your analytical framework. Third, you execute your analysis with incredibly clear step-by-step working. Fourth, you pause, verify the results, and check for basic reasonableness. Does this number even make sense? And fifth, you present your final answer in the proper format. Why is this so critical? Because of method marks. Let's say you're rushing and you make a silly calculation error in step 3. It happens. But if your working is crystal clear and you follow that flawed number through logically all the way to step 5, the method mark strategy ensures you still pick up the vast majority of the points for your procedure. The examiner rewards your logic, even if your calculator thumb slipped.
But here is the catch. That process only saves you if you adhere strictly to professional conventions. Practical application in Accounting 9706 demands absolute professional presentation. We are talking about having proper headings for every single statement, flawlessly correct terminology, choosing the exact appropriate formats, knowing instantly how a partnership appropriation account visually differs from a limited company statement of changes in equity, and providing incredibly clear annotations. If your formatting is a messy, chaotic jumble on the page, the examiner literally cannot trace your logic. And if they can't trace your logic, your method marks just evaporate into thin air. You have to make it easy for them to give you the points. Let's elevate this even further and move to Section 3, Critical Analysis and Evaluation. This is my favorite part because this is where we climb up the cognitive ladder to the higher order assessment objectives. This is exactly how you unlock those highly coveted, top-tier marking dans. To achieve those top marks, you absolutely have to master this recurring mental model: deconstruct, solve, evaluate. Let's bring back our 2 hypothetical students, Alex and Sam. Imagine they're working together, and they hit a massive roadblock on an essay question that asks them to evaluate whether a successful sole trader should convert their business into a limited company. Alex, being our technical whiz, might just rapidly list out all the pros and cons. Limited liability, cost of setup, loss of total control, done. That is a descriptive trap. It's factual, but it's totally flat. Sam, being our big picture thinker, might get impatient, skip the structural breakdown, and jump straight to the conclusion, arguing passionately that growth is good. That totally lacks systematic proof. The elite pass, the pass that gets full marks, requires you to first identify the given financial information from the source text, then break it into logical steps, solve the financial reality systematically, then, and this is the part almost everyone forgets, check for reasonableness, and finally, make deeply justified recommendations. If you don't justify your final recommendation using the exact mathematical data you just solved, you are entirely missing the evaluate command. You have to prove your opinion with their numbers. I want you to look really closely at this anatomy of command words and the grading hierarchy. This perfectly lays out the progression of how you are judged. We have 3 assessment objectives: AO1, AO2, and AO3. Notice the steep progression here. Descriptive is AO1. This is basic knowledge, answering the what. This is where command words like state or outline live. It's necessary, but it's low-hanging fruit. Then we move up to analytical, which is AO2. This is the how and the why. This is where you are comparing approaches or actively calculating complex financial ratios. This is for command words like analyze or explain. There is a huge difference between explaining something and just stating it. But the absolute top tier, AO3, evaluative, demands justified recommendations. When a Cambridge question says evaluate or to what extent, it is practically begging you to look at the alternatives. You must argue why one specific path is mathematically and conceptually superior to another path based on the scenario. To pull this off, you need to use what we call the paragraph balance formula.
Your essay paragraph needs a little bit of description to set the stage, strong analysis to show the mechanics, and heavy, heavy evaluation to drive the point home. That formula is your golden ticket to full marks.
Okay, take a breath because now we have to pivot to what might be the absolute most critical part of this entire explainer. Section 4, examiner warnings. We know the theory now, we have the method down, we understand the evaluation rubric, but none of that matters if we step on a landmine. We need to know exactly where the hidden traps are set.
I actually want to pause the pacing right here for a second, look you in the eye, and challenge you directly. Do you know the number one reason students lose easy marks in this specific entity module? Really think about it. It is not a lack of complex knowledge. It is not misunderstanding the deep underlying theory. What do you think causes a smart, well-prepared candidate to suddenly drop an entire grade boundary on a question they actually knew the answer to?
The answer is shockingly simple, and it's revealed in these top 3 mistakes sourced directly from the Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. Number 1, proper format forgotten. You did all the brilliant complex math, but you wrote it out like a messy scratch pad note instead of a formal financial statement. The examiner can't reward what they can't read. Easy marks, totally gone. Number 2, format and presentation left completely unchecked. This just means you rushed. You felt the time pressure, you blitzed through, and you didn't leave time to review your own work. But number 3, and listen to me, this is the absolute biggest flaw in extended written answers. Answers lack specific context. This is huge. If the exam stimulus material is specifically about a manufacturing partnership facing a massive supply chain crisis, and your answer reads like a generic, memorized textbook definition of partnerships without ever once mentioning manufacturing or supply chains, you will fail the application objective, period. You absolutely must anchor your theory directly to their specific data. If you write a perfect essay for the wrong company, you get 0 points.
To wrap this all up, I want to leave you with a highly practical takeaway strategy that you can start using today. Create a custom mnemonic using the first letters of key terms to lock in these entity frameworks and that standard processing sequence we talked about. This mnemonic becomes your ultimate last 5 minutes review checklist during the actual exam. If you can quickly recall your custom acronym, you can rapidly audit your own paper for those critical formatting and context errors before the examiner calls time. As you look at your next practice paper, I want you to ask yourself a hard question. Are you just memorizing the accounting rules? Are you actually ready to structure, evaluate, and passionately argue your case exactly like a Cambridge examiner expects? Listen, crushing these Cambridge exams requires incredibly consistent strategy week in and week out. So if you found this breakdown valuable, I need you to hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O&A levels at the handle @AceTheExam_IGCSE. Turn on the notification bell right now so you never miss a future exam hack. And drop a comment below telling me your exact target grade. Put it out there into the universe. Keep pushing, keep strategizing, and I'll see you in the next one.